But maybe, Salil, then just taking a step right back and starting with the sort of fundamental question of, what is blogging, why people should get into it, and really just thinking about how we position the course, at that beginner level, and that SEO isn't a criteria, and understanding SEO isn't a criteria, and understanding technical things like WordPress and plugins and all the rest. You don't need to know any of that to just get going with the blogging journey. So just take us right from the beginning. Why should people blog, and what is the best thing to start doing to get going on that journey?
See, the best way of thinking about it now is think about YouTube. A lot of the videos you'll see nowadays don't necessarily have a keyword fill title, right? They don't necessarily have a title that's full of keywords. Why? Because YouTube itself is recommending content based on the content that is part of the video and the other content. That's what's happening with blog as well. Without worrying about stuffing keywords, title, and all of that, as long as your content is good, as long as you're providing value, as long as you're sharing it with the world, it'll always work. So, for example, and Peter is a great testament to that, he posted a blog article on LinkedIn. Even if one or two people shared, it got more visitors. Then multiple more people shared, it got more visitors. Before you knew it, it was on the right side of LinkedIn saying LinkedIn Pulse, or now it just calls article. And then it was just featuring on there. Once it featured on there, it got to a even wider audience. So all he did was just post something that he wanted to talk about. Somehow people loved it. Because they loved it, they engaged with it, they liked it, they shared it. And because they shared it, LinkedIn thought that, okay, other people are sharing this must be something worth it. And then this is a virality to it. So don't think about keywords, don't think about SEO, don't think about anything. Just write valuable content. That's what we teach in this course. Just write your heart out, write your passion. We have an entire content strategy section where my first thing that I always say is just write whatever you're passionate about, write whatever you love talking about. And when you do that, don't worry about the results. It'll all value will be there. So that's the way. Just provide valuable content, and that's the way we do it in the course. That's the way Peter has done it with his 4 or 5 different blogs now, and then that's how we approach this.
Thanks, Salil. And if I could just add my own thoughts on this question of why people should start blogging and how they can get going. For me, the reason that I started blogging was I just wanted to, share my insights, and people through mentoring and coaching and other relationships in my professional network would commonly be asking me certain questions that I had experience or insight about. And blogging for me started to become a very efficient way of packaging those insights and sharing them with many more people a lot quicker than just communicating in one-on-one conversations. And I found myself repeating in a lot of these topics very often. And so when I put something into a blog, it forced me to package it quite properly and articulate my thoughts in writing such that I was happy to press publish. But once it was up there, whether it was on LinkedIn or my own website, all I had to do is then obviously share that link with people who were asking me those questions. And if we then did have a sort of one-on-one coaching conversation, we could then assume they had read that, they'd understood my insights on that topic, and then we could talk more specifically about the help that we needed to provide them. And as I developed on my journey of blogging, I got more sophisticated with my own website. I still do blog quite a bit on LinkedIn, but I then extended that to providing thought leadership in my industry and sharing, for example, if I'd had speaking opportunities, what I spoke about and what was useful for the audience and what would then be useful from that discussion for people that maybe hadn't attended my thoughts as well. But, then the other reason that I found was very useful was in my academic and postgraduate research journey. I then started to blog about the findings that I would, have discovered in my studies. And it's very important, I think, for academic students to recognize that, although you are sort of living in an academic world, it's actually crucial that you're able to convert that sort of academic research back into more of a contemporary flavor or style of writing and simpler content that people can consume more broadly. Because the only way you're going to create value for the world in your academic studies, if you're able to share it back with the world, and a blog is a fantastic way of doing that. So I think let's just jump into Ola Yenka's question there, which is where she talks about academic blogs. And I think you're absolutely correct. You do need to be a little bit more specific and focused. And you might find that perhaps academic institutions host blogs. And as we explained clearly in the course, blogs and the content of blogs and the reason that people will write blog articles are always going to be grouped around communities and specific areas of interest. And most definitely, if it is an academic blog, you're going to find that there is a lot more of that academic detail and that academic content in the blog, because people will be willing to read a lot more of that academic type of writing because they're already reading similar articles like that on that academic blog. If you take academic content and you try and put it on a more public, general website where people are more used to the simpler SEO friendly sort of type of writing and articles, then you would need to generalize it a lot more. So, Leyenka, absolutely agreeing with you. But that specificity on those academic blogs, again, is going to perhaps be a smaller, more specific audience, again, around that academic content. But if you're able to take that and generalize it and show how it applies to a broader audience on a more general, more widely read blog, then that's an example of taking your academic research and helping make a contribution back into the public.